The accident happened on a Tuesday evening in March. A drunk driver ran a red light and hit my Tesla head-on while I was driving home from a board meeting. The impact crushed 3 vertebrae, punctured my lung, and left me in a medically induced coma for 6 weeks. When I finally woke up, the first thing I asked for was my family. "Ms. Williams," the nurse said gently, "let's focus on your recovery right now. Have they been here? My parents? My brother?" The nurse, whose name tag read Jennifer, looked uncomfortable. "Ms. Williams, you've been unconscious for 6 weeks. Let me get Dr. Martinez to discuss your condition." She didn't answer my question about family visitors. I found out why later. During my 3-month stay in the ICU at St. Mary's Medical Center, I received exactly 0 visits from my family. Not from mom and dad who lived 20 minutes away. Not from my brother Kevin who worked downtown. Not from my sister Amanda who posted daily on social media about her busy life, but apparently couldn't spare an hour for her sister fighting for her life. The only visitors I had were my business partner Marcus, my assistant Julie, and a rotating cast of colleagues from Williams Foundation, the charitable organization I'd built over the past decade. "Sarah," Marcus said during one of his daily visits, "I hate to bring up business while you're recovering, but we have some decisions that need to be made." "What kind of decisions?" "The pediatric wing dedication ceremony is scheduled for next month. The hospital has been planning it for a year, but given your condition..." "No, we're not postponing it. That wing has been under construction for 2 years. Those kids need those facilities. Sarah, you donated $20 million for that wing. The least you could do is be there for the dedication." "Marcus, I donated $20 million so sick children could get better care. The dedication ceremony is just paperwork. It's your name going on the building, Sarah. It's not about my name. It's about the kids." Marcus looked at me with that expression I'd grown familiar with over the years. The look people get when they realize I'm serious about my philanthropy being anonymous and impact-focused rather than recognition-focused. "Sarah, your family doesn't know about the donation, do they?" "My family doesn't know about most of what I do." "Why not?" I stared at the ceiling of my ICU room. "Because they've never asked." The truth was more complicated than that, but I was too tired to explain the full dynamic. My family saw me as Sarah the workaholic. Sarah who was always too busy for family gatherings. Sarah who lived alone, worked too much, and had never given them grandchildren or a traditional daughter-in-law to brag about. They had no idea that working too much meant running a foundation that had donated over $60 million to medical research, education, and children's hospitals. They didn't know that being too busy meant traveling to evaluate grant applications, meeting with researchers, and overseeing construction of facilities that would save lives. To them, I was just successful enough to be financially stable but not successful enough to be impressive. The perfect middle child to ignore. Dr. Martinez stopped by during week 10 of my recovery. "Sarah, your physical therapy is progressing well. We should be able to move you to a regular room next week." "That's great news." "Sarah, can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." In all my years practicing medicine, I've never seen a patient with no family visitors for this length of time. Is there something we should know? Are there family members we should be contacting? "They know I'm here, Dr. Martinez." "And they haven't come?" "Apparently not." "Sarah, you've been critically injured. You nearly died. Are you sure they understand the severity of what happened?" I thought about it. Marcus called them from the scene. Julie sent updates every week. They know. But they haven't visited at all? "Dr. Martinez, some families are complicated." What I didn't tell him was that Kevin had texted me once. "Heard about your accident. Hope you're okay. Things are crazy busy at work." Amanda had sent a generic get well card with no personal message. And my parents had asked Marcus to keep them updated, but never actually reached out directly. During week 11, I was moved to a private room in the Williams Pediatric Wing, the same wing I'd funded, though the staff had been discreet about not mentioning that connection. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was recovering in a hospital wing that bore my name, while my family hadn't bothered to visit the hospital at all. The room was beautiful state-of-the-art equipment, comfortable accommodations, and a view of the healing garden I'd specifically requested be included in the architectural plans. Every detail had been designed to reduce stress and promote healing. "Ms. Williams," Jennifer said as she helped me settle into the new room, I have to say you're our most unusual patient. How so? Most people who donate $20 million to a hospital make sure everyone knows about it. You specifically requested that your donation remain anonymous. The Williams Foundation prefers to focus on impact rather than recognition. The Williams Foundation, that's your foundation? I'm the founder and primary beneficiary, yes. Ms. Williams, do you realize that your foundation's donations have transformed this hospital? The pediatric wing, the cancer research lab, the free clinic. That was the goal. And your family doesn't know? Jennifer, can I ask you something? Of course. In your professional opinion, if someone's family doesn't visit them during a 3-month ICU stay, are they likely to be impressed by philanthropic achievements? She was quiet for a moment. Ms. Williams, I think your family doesn't deserve you. Maybe. Or maybe I don't deserve them. Ma'am, you nearly died and you're still worried about whether you deserve your family's attention. Meanwhile, you've quietly donated millions to help strangers. I think I know who deserves whom. 3 days later, everything changed. I was doing physical therapy when Jennifer rushed into my room looking flustered. Ms. Williams, I need to prepare you for something. What's wrong? Your mother is here. She's meeting with Dr. Martinez about scheduling her gallbladder surgery. Mom's here? For surgery. She doesn't know you're here. Dr. Martinez didn't mention it because you requested privacy about your medical information. I see. Ma'am, she's asking questions about the pediatric wing. About the name on the building. I felt my heart rate increase. What kind of questions? She noticed that the wing is named after someone with your last name. She asked the nursing staff about it. What did you tell her? I told her that Sarah Williams was a generous benefactor who donated $20 million for the construction of the pediatric facilities. And, Ms. Williams, your mother went very pale. She asked if Sarah Williams was a patient at this hospital. I told her I couldn't discuss patient information. Jennifer. She's in the lobby right now, asking to speak with someone about visiting Sarah Williams. I closed my eyes. After 3 months of no contact, Mom was finally coming to visit. Not because she'd been worried about me, not because she'd missed me, but because she'd discovered I was more successful than she'd realized. Jennifer, what do you want me to do? It's your choice, Ms. Williams. We can continue to maintain your privacy, or let her come up. Are you sure? I'm sure. 20 minutes later, Mom walked into my room looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Her face was pale, her eyes were red, and her hands were shaking. Sarah. Hi, Mom. Sarah, what? How long have you been here? 3 months and 4 days. She sat down heavily in the chair beside my bed. 3 months. 3 months. Sarah, why didn't you tell us how badly you were hurt? Mom, Marcus called Dad from the scene. Julie has been sending weekly updates to the family email. How did you think I was doing? We thought you were fine. That it was just a minor accident. A minor accident that required 3 months in the ICU? Sarah, we didn't know you were in the ICU. What did you think ICU stood for in Julie's emails? Mom looked confused. We didn't read them carefully. We thought ICU meant, I don't know, something less serious. Intensive care unit, Mom. The place where they put people who might die. Sarah. Mom, did you think I was choosing not to contact you for 3 months? We thought you were angry with us. About Christmas. Christmas. Right. The family gathering where Kevin had announced his promotion, Amanda had showed off her new house, and I'd been asked why I wasn't married yet and when I was going to settle down and start a real family. I wasn't angry about Christmas, Mom. Then why didn't you call? Because I was unconscious for 6 weeks and in intensive care for the rest. Mom started crying. Sarah, I'm so sorry. We didn't understand. Mom, can I ask you something? Anything. Why are you here now? Because I found out you were hurt and... Mom, you've known I was hurt for 3 months. Why are you here today specifically? She looked down at her hands. Because I saw your name on the building. And... because the nurse told me you donated $20 million to build the pediatric wing. And that changed something? Sarah, we had no idea that you had $20 million? I let that sit for a moment. So you're not here because you were worried about my health. You're here because you found out I'm wealthier than you realized. That's not. Sarah, that's not fair. Isn't it? We thought your business was just... We didn't know you were running a foundation. You didn't know because you never asked. Sarah. Mom, for 10 years, you've introduced me to people as your daughter who works in charity stuff. You've never once asked what that charity work involved, how much money we manage, or what kind of impact we're making. We thought it was small. You thought it was unimportant. No, that's not. Mom, last Christmas, Kevin bragged about his $50,000 bonus. Amanda showed off her new kitchen renovation. And when people asked what I did for work, you said I was still figuring things out. Sarah, we didn't mean still figuring things out. At 34 years old. After building a foundation that's donated $60 million to medical research and children's hospitals. Mom was quiet for a long moment. 60 million. 60 million. Sarah, how is that possible? It's possible because I've been building something meaningful instead of just building a bank account. But where did the money come from? I developed medical software in my 20s. Sold the company for $120 million when I was 30. I could have retired, bought a mansion, traveled the world. Instead, I started the Williams Foundation. You never told us about selling a company. I tried to. At Kevin's wedding reception, I mentioned that I'd had a successful exit from my startup. Dad said, "That's nice, sweetheart," and changed the subject to Kevin's honeymoon plans. We didn't realize. You didn't listen. There's a difference. Sarah, we're listening now. Are you? Or are you just impressed by the dollar amounts? Mom was quiet for a moment. Sarah, what do you want me to say? I want you to say that you're sorry you didn't visit me when I was dying. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm so sorry. I want you to say that you're sorry you assumed my work wasn't important just because it wasn't traditional. I'm sorry. And I want you to say that you understand why this hurts. Sarah, I understand why you're hurt. But we're here now. You're here because you found out I have money, Mom. That's not the same thing. Sarah, that's not fair. We're here because we love you. Do you? Because for 3 months, your love wasn't strong enough to motivate a hospital visit. Mom started crying harder. Sarah, we didn't know how serious it was. Mom, your daughter was in a car accident serious enough to require ICU care. Whether I had $20 or $20 million, shouldn't that have warranted a visit? Yes. Then why didn't you come? Because we thought you were fine. Because you're always fine. You're always handling everything, managing everything, succeeding at everything. We thought you didn't need us. I almost died, Mom. I know that now. And for 3 months I was alone. Sarah. Do you know who visited me? Marcus, who's my business partner but has become more like family than my actual family. Julie, my assistant, who brought me flowers every week and read me updates on the kids in the pediatric ward. Board members from the foundation who wanted to make sure I was okay, not because I'm rich, but because they care about me as a person. Sarah, we care about you too. Do you? Because caring about someone usually involves showing up when they need you. Dr. Martinez knocked on the door. Ms. Williams, I hate to interrupt, but we need to discuss your mother's consultation. Of course, Doctor. Mrs. Williams, I understand you're here for a gallbladder surgery consultation? Mom nodded, looking embarrassed. Dr. Martinez, I said, can you give Mom the VIP treatment? Make sure she has access to the best surgical team and a room in the new wing. Of course, Ms. Williams. Given your contributions to the hospital, we're always happy to extend special care to your family members. After Dr. Martinez left, Mom looked at me with a confused expression. Sarah, what did he mean about contributions? Mom, the Williams Foundation has donated over $40 million to this hospital over the past 5 years. 40 million? The pediatric wing is just the most visible project. We've also funded the cancer research lab, the emergency department expansion, and the free clinic that serves uninsured patients. Sarah, this is incredible. Why didn't you tell us? I tried to tell you. Last Thanksgiving, I mentioned that our foundation had received recognition from the American Medical Association. Kevin said, "That's nice," and asked if anyone wanted more turkey. We didn't understand. You didn't ask questions. Sarah, we're asking questions now. Now that you know I'm wealthy enough to be interesting. Mom was quiet for a long moment. Sarah, what do you want from us? I want you to care about me when I'm not impressive. I want you to visit me when I'm hurt regardless of how much money I have. I want you to ask about my work because you're interested in my life, not because you want to know if I'm worth bragging about. Sarah. Mom, do you know what the hardest part of being in this ICU was? The pain. The loneliness. Lying here wondering if my family would even notice if I died. Sarah, we would have noticed. Would you? Because Julie mentioned in her emails that I was in critical condition for the first 6 weeks. That the doctors weren't sure if I'd survive. And no one came. Mom started crying again. Sarah, we didn't understand how serious it was. Mom, when someone says, critical condition, and ICU, what do you think that means? We thought it was just precautionary. Precautionary ICU stays don't last 3 months. We know that now. Now. After finding out I'm worth bragging about. Just then my phone rang. Marcus. Sarah, how are you feeling today? Better, thanks. Marcus, my mom is here. Oh. That's wonderful. I'm so glad your family finally came to visit. Marcus, can you tell Mom about the Foundation's projects this year? Of course. Mrs. Williams, your daughter is remarkable. This year alone, the Williams Foundation has funded pediatric heart surgery for 43 children, provided scholarships for 15 medical students, and built 2 free clinics in underserved communities. I watched Mom's face as Marcus continued. And Sarah personally reviews every grant application. She visits the facilities we fund. She knows the names of kids whose surgeries she's paid for. She's not just writing checks, she's changing lives. Marcus, I said, can you tell Mom about the Christmas project? Oh, the Christmas project. Mrs. Williams, every December, Sarah arranges for the foundation to sponsor Christmas celebrations at children's hospitals across the state. She shows up personally, brings gifts, reads to the kids. Last year she spent Christmas Day at 4 different hospitals. Mom looked confused. But Sarah, you told us you had to work on Christmas. I did have to work, Mom. I was visiting sick children who don't get to go home for the holidays. We thought you were just avoiding family time. I was spending family time with kids who don't have families to spend it with. Marcus continued, your daughter is the most generous person I've ever met. And the most humble. She could have her name on buildings across the state, but she insists on anonymous donations because she says it's not about recognition. Marcus, I said, I think Mom gets the picture. After Marcus hung up, Mom sat quietly for a long time. Sarah, I feel like I don't know you at all. You don't, Mom. And whose fault is that? Whine. Ours. Sarah, we've been terrible parents to you. You haven't been terrible. You've been disinterested. We thought you were just different and social. Too focused on work. I'm focused on work, Mom. Work that matters. We see that now. Do you see it, or are you just impressed by the dollar amounts? Mom thought about that. Sarah, I'm ashamed to say that the dollar amounts got my attention. But listening to Marcus talk about what you actually do, Sarah, you're saving lives. That's the goal. And we've been treating you like you're wasting your life. Yeah. You have. Sarah, how do we fix this? You start by understanding that my value as your daughter isn't determined by my bank account or my achievements. It should be determined by the fact that I'm your daughter. You're right. You start by showing up when I need you, not just when you find out I'm worth knowing. We will. And you start by asking about my life because you care about me, not because you want stories to tell your friends. Sarah, we do care about you. Then prove it. Over the next 2 weeks, something shifted. Dad came to visit, not because Mom told him about the donations, but because she told him I'd almost died and he needed to be there. Kevin showed up with flowers and an apology. Amanda brought her kids to meet their aunt who they barely knew. But the biggest change was in the daily conversations. For the first time in years, my family asked about my work not because they were impressed by my wealth, but because they wanted to understand what I cared about. Sarah, Dad said during one visit, can you tell me about the free clinic? Which one? Any of them. I want to understand what you're building. So I told him. About the clinic in East Oakland that served undocumented immigrants who couldn't afford health care. About the mobile clinic that traveled to rural communities. About the partnership with medical schools to provide free care while training new doctors. Sarah, this is incredible work. Why didn't you tell us about this before? Dad, I tried to tell you last Christmas. You asked what I was working on and I mentioned healthcare access initiatives. You said, "That sounds complicated," and asked Kevin about his golf game. I remember that. Sir, I'm sorry. I should have asked follow-up questions. Why didn't you? Because I thought you were talking about some small volunteer thing. I didn't realize you were running major healthcare initiatives. Dad, even if it had been small volunteer work, shouldn't you have been interested because it mattered to me? He was quiet for a moment. Yes. You're right. The size of the work isn't what makes it worth caring about. The fact that it matters to your daughter is what makes it worth caring about. I understand that now. 6 months later, I was fully recovered and back to running the foundation. But something fundamental had changed in my family relationships. My parents started asking about my work regularly, not because they were impressed by the scale but because they wanted to understand what I cared about. Kevin started volunteering at one of our free clinics. Amanda began organizing fundraisers for pediatric cancer research. My parents attended the dedication ceremony for the new emergency wing we'd funded. But most importantly, they learned to value me for who I was, not what I'd accomplished. The accident taught my family a hard lesson about priorities. When someone you love is lying in an ICU bed, their net worth doesn't matter. Their job title doesn't matter. The fact that they're your family member fighting for their life is what matters. And I learned something too, that sometimes people need a shock to realize what they've been taking for granted. Now when I visit the Williams Pediatric Wing, I see my name on the building and I think about all the children who will receive life-saving care there. But I also think about how that building taught my family to see me clearly for the first time in years. The best gift wasn't the $20 million I donated to help sick children. The best gift was discovering that my family was capable of loving me for who I am, not just what I can provide. Sometimes the most generous thing you can do is give people the opportunity to be better than they've been. My family rose to that opportunity, and our relationships became stronger than they'd ever been before. The hospital wing bears my name, but it represents something bigger than my donation. It represents the power of showing up for people when they need you most, regardless of what they can do for you in return. That's a lesson worth $20 million.